And he was in a mood at that time. He says, I don't want to do any more violent pictures. I'm tired of it. I've been involved with a lot of them.
Clint Eastwood's resolute declaration, delivered at 94, sent shockwaves through Hollywood as his confidant of 50 years, Gene Hackman, departed forever. Amid the flood of heartfelt tributes, a piercing truth emerged. Clint Eastwood had penned a final letter to Gene Hackman, but it never left his hands. What lay within that letter, and why did this fateful message never reach its intended soul? Today, we unravel an untold tale of an unshakable bond between two cinematic giants, a story where secrets, memories, and regrets intertwine into a haunting Western melody that lingers in the air. Clint Eastwood sat quietly by the living room window, his aged hand resting gently on the worn wooden armrest. The sunset cast long shadows through the glass, bathing the dust-covered photos on the wall in a soft orange glow. At 94, each day felt fragile, like a thin sheet of paper poised to be torn apart by the winds of memory. Today, though, those winds didn't carry the scent of gunpowder from the Wild West or the rustle of a fresh script. Today, there was only stillness, and that stillness bore the name Gene Hackman. Clint Eastwood, a man of few words, broke his trademark silence to speak of Gene Hackman, the cherished friend and legendary colleague who had recently passed. They were two sides of the same coin, Eastwood cool and enigmatic, Hackman fiery and unpredictable. Yet together they forged an extraordinary force, a rare authenticity that stood out in Hollywood's glitzy haze. Now, left alone, Eastwood opened up with raw thoughts and heartfelt emotions about his confidant, his brilliant partner. He didn't just mourn Hackman, he unveiled a profound friendship, a brotherhood that shaped their careers and left an indelible mark on Hollywood's storied past. The bond between Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman didn't spark with the celebrated Unforgiven, as many assume. Their paths first crossed back in the 70s, Clint clawing his way out from under Dirty Harry's shadow, Gene fresh off an Oscar win for The French Connection. They were opposites in every sense, Eastwood cool and tight-lipped, Hackman fiery and brimming with pride. Yet fate nudged them together at a producer's party in Los Angeles. A chance encounter like a seed dropped into fertile soil. Those who saw it unfold recall a wordless understanding, a quiet recognition between two artists who, despite clashing temperaments, shared a core set of values. That unspoken connection planted the roots of a lasting friendship, one solidified years later with the 1992 masterpiece Unforgiven. Clint never forgot the look in Gene's eyes after that final scene, as William Money turned and walked away into the rain. Gene gazed at him, no acting, no lines, just the raw, honest stare of a man who sensed his time was winding down. In that look, an invisible thread tied them together. After Unforgiven, their meetings grew rare, but the handwritten letters kept coming, carrying stories, confessions, and invitations left unanswered. "Ever wonder what happened if we did it one more time?" Gene once scribbled. Clint read it, folded the paper, tucked it into a drawer, and stepped onto his porch to light a cigar. He stayed silent, not because he lacked an answer, but because the question itself held it. Time rolled on. In 2015, another letter arrived, its crumpled envelope bearing a shaky GH in the corner. "One last ride, Clint, just you and me. No Oscars, no press, just us and a story untold. A tale of two guys who should have been dead long ago but keep hanging on. Tell it before it's too late." Clint held that letter for a long while. In his mind, scenes flickered to life, two weathered cowboys, backs bent, hands trembling, facing each other on a dusty street. No guns, just words left unsaid. But Clint knew Gene wasn't just pitching a film, he was asking for one final journey together. A ride for two old souls who'd weathered every storm. A movie might flop, but their friendship wouldn't. Yet Clint turned it down, not with a letter, not over the phone, just with silence, the kind William Money carried before each shot. It wasn't that he didn't want to. He was afraid that ride might unravel the legend they'd built. The room was shrouded in stillness, broken only by the heavy sigh of Clint Eastwood. We sat there at a loss for anything but staring at one another. His gray eyes narrowed, his sinewy hand clutching a glass of whiskey gone cold. He pressed on with a story from 2018, when the gloom of old age had cast its shadow over the territory of legends, and a call from yesteryear roused the lone man. The phone's chime rang out in the aging wooden house. Gene Hackman, relentless in his desire for one last joint venture, kept dialing Clint. From the other end, Hackman's voice lacked the boisterous laugh or sharp-edged quips of old. Instead, his words came slow, deliberate, like grains of sand trickling through the grip of a man aware his days were dwindling.
"Clint, I've got an idea. Might be the last."
Gene croaked, his voice rough.
"I don't know how much time I've got left, but if I'm making one more picture, I want it to be with you."
Gene shared his vision with Clint. It was just a few scribbled lines on a crumpled page, two weathered cowboys, once brothers in arms, now facing off at opposite ends of a town, each burdened by an unspoken secret, a duel neither sought but couldn't evade. Clint liked it, Gene did too, but that was the last harmony they'd share. That dream of a film, two grizzled cowboys locked in confrontation, stirred up long-simmering discord. Gene scorned Clint for being too afraid to scuff his own monument. Clint mocked Gene for grasping at a fading glow. Each word, each line sliced deeper, driving them further apart, wiping away the tracks of the path they'd once shared. That movie met its end that day, no formal notice, no explanation, just a vast silence stretching into the twilight of their careers. An unseen bullet had been fired between the two giants, but it missed its mark, leaving a hollow gap that lingered, unfillable, like the last frame of a film never shot. Then 2021 rolled in, amid a pandemic that left the world breathless. Out of the blue, Gene called Clint, the first contact after more than 2 years of quiet, a span as endless as a desert without a horizon. They sat in stillness for ages after the first hello. Gene inquired about health, Clint gave a clipped reply. They traded talk of weather, gas prices, old films they'd starred in, like two strangers brushing past each other at a road's end bar. Neither dared mention the unfinished project from 2018. Suddenly Gene halted, his voice a faint murmur, like a breeze over ancient graves.
Clint, you recall the end of Unforgiven? When I stood there watching you ride off in the rain?
Clint went quiet, his gray eyes tightening as if that scene unfolded before him. The drip of rain on the earth, the distant clatter of hooves, and the solitary back of a seasoned killer fading into the night. Gene let out a soft laugh.
I never said it, but I knew we wouldn't get another shot.
Clint tried to speak, but his throat locked, as if no words could bear the weight of his remorse. The call closed with a sigh from both sides. They didn't hang up right away, just lingered, hearing each other's breath, like two old cowboys at opposite ends of a street, hands grazing holsters but neither drawing. Their shadows stretched to touch on the dusty ground, though their bodies remained miles apart. After that call, Clint confided to a trusted friend, his voice sinking under time's load. I don't think I'll speak to Gene again, and he was right. The news of Gene Hackman and his wife passing away together on a tranquil afternoon in Santa Fe swept through Hollywood like a cold gust, quiet, unassuming, true to the understated life he'd embraced in his final 2 decades. Yet as that gust faded, it left behind an immense void, not just for the world of film, but for those who'd once stood by his side. Gene Hackman, a towering figure in cinema, slipped away in peaceful slumber next to his beloved wife. His heart, having given everything to art and life, finally came to rest. Clint Eastwood, Hackman's closest companion, didn't shed a tear. Instead, he opened an old notebook, settled onto his porch, and murmured, "Catch you in the next town, old friend." For an aging cowboy never bids farewell, they simply ride off, leaving untold legends in their dust. In a rare statement, his voice quivered faintly, like the strum of a weathered guitar cutting through a desert night. No actor was greater than Gene. Fierce, instinctive, never a misstep. He was also a dear friend, I'll miss terribly. Those plain words, like a silver bullet fired from a seasoned sharpshooter's gun, carried the weight of 50 years of friendship. You can picture Eastwood alone on that porch, gazing toward a distant horizon where the hills meet the sky, a place where worn-out cowboys might one day ride into the sunset. For Eastwood, Hackman's departure wasn't just the loss of a colleague or a pal, it was the closing of a long chapter in his own story. As one of the last of his era still standing, he shoulders the duty of preserving their shared legacy, ensuring their tale of camaraderie and achievement continues to ignite the imaginations of filmmakers to come. Gene Hackman, a radiant star in Hollywood's constellation, etched an unforgettable mark on the hearts of viewers. From The French Connection to Superman, he delivered performances brimming with emotion and truth. "The best acting is instinct," he once declared, as if imparting the wisdom of a seasoned tracker reading signs in the sand. "It's not intellect, not mechanics, it's instinct." That creed allowed him to pierce the souls of audiences, even when embodying the most intricate characters. As farewells and remembrances echoed through the room, we couldn't help but dwell on the private moments this icon shared. Handwritten notes, late-night calls, candid critiques that honed them both. The 50-year bond between Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman wasn't just another Hollywood tie, it was a brotherhood forged in the crucible of mutual respect, one that reshaped cinema's landscape forever. He calls us all to gather around the campfire, to sip a glass of whiskey, and though no one speaks it aloud, I'm certain we're all recalling the legend of Gene Hackman, not solely for his towering talent, but for the authentic, profound man who left an everlasting imprint on the hearts of those who adore the art of film. A source close to Eastwood revealed that he was in the midst of penning a final letter to Hackman when the news of his passing broke. That letter now will remain his private treasure forever. If this fleeting glimpse into one of Hollywood's deepest friendships stirs something in you, hit that like button and subscribe for more untold tales from the golden age of cinema. Share this video with someone who cherishes the power of genuine bonds. Drop a comment below about your favorite performance from Hackman or Eastwood. We'll respond to the most thoughtful ones. For more incredible stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to stay in the loop with the latest updates.